Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the oscillating patterns on her quantum array display, her eyes burning from 18 straight hours of observation. The patterns shouldn't exist, at least not according to current physics models. The orbital detection array she'd helped design was picking up signals that defied conventional wave mechanics, signals that seemed to propagate faster than light. Dr. Chen, you need to see this. James Kumar, her lead research assistant, called from his workstation. The pattern's symmetry just shifted again. Sarah moved to his station, her coffee forgotten. The quantum oscillations had taken on a distinct geometric structure, one that couldn't possibly be natural. Run it through the new decoder algorithm, she ordered, her heart racing. The Massachusetts Institute of Advanced Physics had become her home over the past decade, as she pursued her theory of quantum field resonance. Most of her colleagues had dismissed her work as fringe science, but the U.S. Space Force had seen enough potential to fund her research. Now, it seemed their investment might pay off in ways no one had anticipated. Got it, James announced, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. The signal's carrying data, massive amounts of it, but it's not using any known encoding method. Sarah leaned closer, studying the streams of information flowing across the screen. These aren't random. Look at the underlying structure. It's mathematical. Whoever sent this wants it to be understood by anyone with sufficient scientific knowledge. The implications hit her like a physical blow. This wasn't just first contact. It was first contact with a civilization advanced enough to manipulate quantum fields at a fundamental level. Within hours, similar reports began flowing in from research stations worldwide. The Chinese Academy of Sciences, the European Space Agency, and dozens of other institutions had detected the same signal. As the global scientific community scrambled to decode the message, Sarah's team made the first breakthrough. It's an invitation, she announced to the hastily assembled panel of international experts. But not just any invitation. They're asking us to demonstrate our understanding of quantum mechanics. Admiral David Torres of the U.S. Space Force leaned forward. An invitation to what exactly? Sarah projected a series of equations onto the main display. These describe a method of generating a stable quantum tunnel, what we might call a wormhole. They're not just showing us it's possible, they're teaching us how to do it. The room erupted in heated discussion. Dr. Yuki Tanaka from JXA spoke up first. If we accept this invitation, we're revealing our level of technological development to an unknown alien civilization. The risk, Sarah interrupted, is in not responding. They already know we're here. They chose this method of contact specifically to gauge our scientific capabilities. If we don't demonstrate our understanding, we're still sending a message, just not the one we want. The debate raged for days as governments worldwide weighed the implications, but Sarah knew they had no real choice. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, contact with an advanced alien civilization. The question wasn't whether to respond, but how to do so in a way that showcased humanity's potential. Working with an international team of physicists, Sarah began constructing Earth's response. They didn't just solve the equations provided, they improved upon them, showing novel applications and suggesting theoretical extensions to the principles involved. 3 weeks after sending their response, the quantum arrays detected a new signal. This one was different, stronger, more focused. As Sarah and her team worked to decode it, the sky above MIT lit up with a spectacular display of quantum phenomena, visible to the naked eye. A ship emerged from what appeared to be a tear in space itself. It wasn't particularly large, perhaps the size of a small aircraft, but its very existence defied everything humanity thought they knew about physics. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, reflecting impossible colors. The ship's arrival triggered a worldwide state of alert, but its actions were purely observational. It maintained a high orbit, broadcasting a simple message on all frequencies. We are the Nexus Confederation. Your species has demonstrated remarkable insight into the fundamental nature of reality. We come to evaluate your potential for inclusion in galactic society. As Sarah prepared to join the hastily assembled first contact team, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the aliens' approach. Their technology was incredible, yes, but their equations, there was something familiar about them, something that nagged at the edges of her consciousness. Dr. Chen, Admiral Torres caught her just before she boarded the hypersonic transport to the newly established first contact facility in Nevada. Your instincts about the quantum signals were right. Trust them now. If anything seems off during the meetings, anything at all, I want to know immediately. Sarah nodded, clutching her tablet containing 10 years of research into quantum field mechanics. She had a feeling she'd need every bit of that knowledge in the coming days. As the transport lifted off, she opened her files and began reviewing her old theories. Theories that had once been dismissed as impossible, but now seemed more relevant than ever. The Nexus Confederation's arrival had answered humanity's oldest question: we are not alone. But as Sarah would soon discover, it had also raised a far more troubling one. What were they really looking for on Earth? The first contact facility's observation room hummed with tension as Sarah watched the Nexus Confederation representatives through reinforced quantum-shielded glass. The aliens called themselves the Architects, and their appearance was as remarkable as their technology. Tall, crystalline beings that seemed to shift between solid and energy states. Your quantum field manipulation theories are interesting. The lead architect, who called itself Nexus Prime, stated through their translation matrix. Its voice carried an undertone that Sarah couldn't quite place, though somewhat primitive by our standards. Sarah exchanged glances with Dr. Marcus Wong, her colleague from the Quantum Propulsion Lab. Something about the architect's dismissive tone struck her as odd. Their equations, while advanced, built upon principles she'd been exploring for years. Too many coincidences. Later that night, in her temporary quarters, Sarah pulled up her original research files. Her hands trembled slightly as she overlaid the architect's equations with her own theoretical work from 5 years ago. The basic structures were identical. "This is impossible," she muttered, running simulation after simulation. Her quantum field resonance theory hadn't just predicted the architect's technology. In some ways, it had surpassed it. But she'd abandoned that line of research when the math seemed to break down at higher energy levels. A soft knock at her door startled her. Dr. Wong entered, his face grave. "You need to see this," he whispered, handing her an encrypted tablet. "Our deep space arrays picked it up an hour ago. The architects are using some kind of quantum dampening field around Earth." Sarah's blood ran cold as she studied the data. The field was subtle, nearly undetectable, but its purpose was clear. It was designed to interfere with specific quantum experiments. The same experiments her team had been planning to validate her original theories. "They're trying to suppress our research," she realized. But why, if they're so advanced? Unless they're not as advanced as they claim, Marcus finished her thought. "Your original paper on quantum field resonance, the one they dismissed as primitive, it suggested a completely different approach to space-time manipulation." Sarah pulled up her old equations, the ones that had seemed to fail. But now, looking at them with fresh eyes and new data from the architect's technology, she saw something she'd missed before. The equations hadn't failed. They'd predicted something so fundamental it would change everything they thought they knew about physics. Working through the night, Sarah and Marcus pieced together the puzzle. The architect's technology was impressive, but it was brute force, like using a sledgehammer where a scalpel would do. Her approach to quantum field manipulation was entirely different, potentially far more efficient. "If this is correct," Marcus said, staring at their completed calculations, "we could generate stable quantum fields with a fraction of the energy they use. Their entire technological advantage would be obsolete," Sarah finished. "And they know it. That's why they're here, not to evaluate us, but to contain us." The next morning's meeting with the architects took on a different tone. Sarah watched them carefully as they continued their patronizing display of advanced technology. She noticed how they steered every conversation away from fundamental quantum mechanics toward their own established methods. But she also noticed something else. Fear. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but every time human scientists approached certain theoretical questions, the architect's crystalline forms would flicker with anxiety. After the meeting, Admiral Torres found her in the facility's secured lab. Dr. Chen, our intelligence division has intercepted some troubling communications from the architect vessel. They're requesting something called containment protocols from their superiors. Sarah showed him her findings. They're not here to welcome us to the galactic community, Admiral. They're here to ensure we don't surpass them. This quantum dampening field, it's just the beginning. The Admiral studied the data, his expression hardening. How long until they realize you've already figured this out? They suspect something, Sarah replied, but they don't know we've broken their quantum encryption. More importantly, they don't know about this. She pulled up her completed equations, the true understanding of quantum field dynamics that she'd finally unlocked. What do you need? A secure facility off their radar, and every quantum physicist we can trust. We're not just going to catch up to their technology, Admiral. We're going to leapfrog it entirely. As Sarah gathered her team for the secret project, she couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The architects had come to Earth to prevent humanity from developing advanced quantum technology. Instead, they'd provided exactly the pieces needed to complete the puzzle. In a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Sarah Chen and her international team began their work. They had to move quickly. It wouldn't take the architects long to realize their containment strategy had backfired. But humanity had one advantage they couldn't counter: the ability to look at old problems in new ways. The race was on, and the future of human scientific development hung in the balance. But for the first time since the architect's arrival, Sarah felt a surge of hope. They'd thought to find a primitive species to be controlled and contained. Instead, they'd awakened something far more dangerous: human ingenuity unleashed. The underground facility, nicknamed Quantum Deep, buzzed with activity as Sarah's international team worked around the clock. 3 months had passed since they'd discovered the architect's true intentions, and every day brought them closer to a breakthrough and to discovery. They're increasing the dampening field strength again, Marcus reported, studying the quantum sensors. They're getting desperate. Sarah nodded, not looking up from the holographic simulation of their latest quantum field test. The architects had been steadily escalating their suppression efforts, but they didn't realize one crucial fact: human quantum technology had already evolved beyond their ability to detect it. "How's the Neptune base coming along?" she asked Admiral Torres during their weekly secure quantum-encrypted call. "Ahead of schedule," he replied. "The deep ocean pressure helps mask any energy signatures. We've got 3 more facilities under construction in the Marianas Trench, the Puerto Rico Trench, and off the coast of Antarctica." The decision to move humanity's advanced research underwater had been inspired by marine biology, specifically the way deep-sea creatures used bioluminescence. The ocean's natural properties helped conceal their quantum experiments from the architect's detection systems. Dr. Yuki Tanaka burst into the lab, her usually calm demeanor shattered by excitement. "Sarah, you need to see this." She pulled up data from their latest test of the quantum resonance engine. The efficiency ratings, they're off the charts. Sarah studied the results, her heart racing. Their approach to quantum field manipulation wasn't just different from the architect's technology, it was fundamentally superior. While the aliens brute forced their way through space-time, humanity had found a way to work with the universe's natural quantum states. But their progress hadn't gone entirely unnoticed. The architects were growing increasingly aggressive in their diplomatic meetings, demanding oversight of Earth's scientific facilities and expressing concern about humanity's reckless approach to physics research. "They're planning something," Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel, their military liaison, warned during an emergency meeting. "Our orbital surveillance has detected unusual movements in their fleet. More ships are arriving, taking positions behind the moon." Sarah shared a look with Marcus. They'd known this moment would come when the architects realized that containment had failed and moved to more direct measures. But humanity wasn't the same civilization they'd first contacted months ago. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, the first human quantum ships were taking shape. Unlike the crystalline vessels of the architects, these ships were dark and sleek, designed to work in harmony with quantum fields rather than dominate them. Sarah had named the first ship the Heisenberg, after the physicist whose uncertainty principle had helped inspire their breakthrough. The architects are requesting another meeting, Admiral Torres informed them. They say they have concerns about unusual quantum fluctuations they've detected. Let me guess, Sarah replied dryly. They want to help us correct our dangerous approach to physics. Exactly. The meeting is scheduled for tomorrow at the first contact facility. Dr. Chen, be careful. Their tone has changed. They're not even trying to hide their threats anymore. The next day, Sarah faced Nexus Prime across the conference table, noting how the architect's crystalline form seemed more rigid than usual, a sign of stress, they'd learned. Your species continues to pursue prohibited areas of research, Nexus Prime stated. We have detected quantum anomalies that suggest dangerous experimentation. This must cease immediately. Sarah kept her expression neutral. We're simply trying to understand the universe better. Isn't that what your civilization does? There are correct ways to approach quantum physics, the architect replied, ways that have been proven safe over millennia. Your alternative theories threaten the stability of space-time itself. Interesting, Sarah said, allowing a slight smile. You seem very certain about the dangers of our theoretical work, almost as if you've seen it before. The architect's form flickered, a clear sign of agitation. We have experienced the consequences of uncontrolled quantum experimentation. Many civilizations have destroyed themselves pursuing the paths you now explore. Or perhaps, Sarah suggested, they found something that threatened your technological dominance, and you decided it was safer to eliminate the competition. The temperature in the room seemed to drop as Nexus Prime's form pulsed with angry energy. You have 24 hours to surrender all quantum research facilities for decommissioning, or we will be forced to take corrective action. We will not allow your reckless experiments to endanger galactic stability. As Sarah left the facility, she activated her quantum communicator, undetectable by the architect's monitoring systems. Admiral, they've made their move. Initiate Operation Deadlock. Across Earth's oceans, hidden quantum engines hummed to life. In the Marianas Trench, the Heisenberg and its sister ships prepared for their first real test. Humanity had hoped for peaceful first contact, for an exchange of knowledge and culture. Instead, they'd found fear masked as superiority, control disguised as protection. But the architects had made a crucial mistake. In their arrogance, they'd assumed humanity would follow the same technological path as other species, that they would try to match the architects' brute force approach to quantum physics. They never imagined that humans would find a completely different way to manipulate the quantum fabric of space-time. As Sarah returned to Quantum Deep, alerts began pouring in. The architect fleet was moving, emerging from behind the moon in attack formation. The final confrontation was about to begin, but humanity was ready. They think they're about to eliminate another potential rival, Sarah told her assembled team. Instead, they're about to learn why you should never underestimate human creativity. The quantum sensors began blaring. The architect fleet had entered Earth orbit, their weapons charging. Operation Deadlock was about to face its ultimate test, and with it, the future of human scientific advancement hung in the balance. The architect fleet descended from orbit like crystalline angels of death, their ships refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. Sarah watched the tactical display in Quantum Deep's command center as over 300 alien vessels took up attack positions around Earth. All underwater facilities report ready, Marcus announced, his voice steady despite the tension. The Heisenberg and its squadron are in position, quantum shielding at maximum efficiency. The architect's ultimatum had expired, and their response was overwhelming in its intensity. Energy readings from their fleet suggested they weren't planning on a surgical strike. This was meant to be a complete suppression of human technological development. They're broadcasting, Lieutenant Commander Patel reported. Nexus Prime's voice filled the command center, its usual diplomatic tone replaced with cold certainty. Your species has been deemed a threat to galactic stability. Your rejection of proper quantum development protocols leaves us no choice. Your research facilities will be eliminated. Resistance is inadvisable. Admiral Torres, coordinating from the Pacific Command Center, gave the order they'd been preparing for. Initiate Quantum Response Protocol. All ships, execute Operation Deadlock. Sarah held her breath as the first phase began. Across Earth's oceans, quantum resonance engines activated in perfect synchronization. But unlike the brute force approach of the architects, these engines worked in harmony with the quantum fabric of spacetime, creating subtle ripples that began to interfere with the aliens' targeting systems. The first architect ships opened fire, brilliant beams of energy that should have devastated their targets. Instead, the attacks seemed to fade away, their energy dispersed harmlessly by quantum fields that worked with natural uncertainty rather than against it. It's working, Sarah breathed, watching the confusion spread through the alien fleet. Their weapons can't lock onto our facilities. The quantum interference is too subtle for their systems to compensate. But the architects weren't easily deterred. Their ships began to descend, moving closer to penetrate the quantum interference. That's when humanity revealed its second surprise. Heisenberg Squadron, you are cleared to engage, Admiral Torres commanded. From the depths of Earth's oceans, humanity's first quantum ships rose. Unlike the crystalline structures of the architect vessels, these ships were dark and sleek, almost fluid in their movement. They didn't so much fly through space as flow through it, riding the natural quantum currents that Sarah's team had learned to detect and utilize. What is this? Nexus Prime's voice crackled with genuine shock. These energy signatures. They're impossible. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she watched the Heisenberg lead the attack. The ship's quantum resonance drive didn't fight against spacetime. It worked with it, creating pathways through quantum fields that the architect's technology couldn't even detect, let alone counter. The battle that followed would later be called the Quantum Dawn by historians. The architect fleet, for all its impressive technology, found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to bend the rules of physics. Human ships appeared to be in multiple places simultaneously, their quantum state uncertainty weaponized in ways the aliens had never conceived. Their shields are failing, Marcus reported, monitoring the battle data. Our quantum resonance weapons are bypassing their defenses completely. They don't know how to defend against something that works with uncertainty instead of trying to eliminate it. The architects' formation began to break. Their weapons, designed to overwhelm conventional defenses with raw power, proved ineffective against ships that could manipulate their own quantum probability states. It was like trying to punch water. No matter how hard they hit, they couldn't seem to land a solid blow. We're receiving a transmission from their flagship, Patil announced. They're requesting a ceasefire. The command center fell silent as Nexus Prime's image appeared on the main screen. The architect's crystalline form showed visible signs of stress, fracture lines appearing and disappearing across its surface. Your approach to quantum physics, it began, its tone very different from before. We have never seen anything like it. How is this possible? All species we've encountered have followed the same developmental path. That was your mistake, Sarah replied, stepping forward. You assumed there was only one way to understand the universe. Humans have always excelled at finding different paths to the same destination. The containment protocols, Nexus Prime continued, they have never failed before. Every emerging civilization either followed our guidance or it trailed off. Or you destroyed them, Sarah finished, because they threatened your technological monopoly. But you never considered that someone might develop something completely different. The battle had effectively ended. The architect fleet, while largely intact, had been thoroughly outmaneuvered by a supposedly inferior species. More importantly, their entire understanding of their place in the galaxy had been shaken. "Your civilization requires evaluation," Nexus Prime stated, but this time there was uncertainty in its voice. "This technology, these principles, they cannot be allowed to spread unchecked." "I don't think you have a choice anymore," Admiral Torres responded. "You can either adapt to a new reality or continue fighting a war you now know you can't win." As the Architect fleet withdrew to a higher orbit to reconsider their position, Sarah looked at the tactical display showing the Heisenberg and its sister ships returning to their ocean bases. Humanity had not only survived first contact with a hostile alien civilization, they had revolutionized the very understanding of quantum physics in the process. "They'll be back," Marcus said quietly. "Once they understand what we've done, they'll try to either copy it or destroy it." Sarah nodded, already thinking about the next phase of human quantum development. "Let them try. We've only scratched the surface of what's possible. And unlike them, we're not afraid of new ideas." In the month following the quantum dawn battle, Earth's political and scientific landscape transformed dramatically. The underground facility, Quantum Deep, had become the center of a new era in human development, with Sarah and her team working to understand the full implications of their breakthrough. "Another civilization has made contact," Admiral Torres announced during their morning briefing. "They call themselves the Meridians. Apparently, they've been hiding from the Architects for centuries." Sarah studied the quantum transmission data from the new alien species. Unlike the crystalline Architects, the Meridians were gaseous beings who existed in a perpetual state of quantum flux. Their approach to physics, while different from both humanities and the Architects, showed remarkable potential for compatibility. "They're not the only ones," Marcus added, bringing up a holographic star map. "Since word of our victory spread, we've detected quantum signatures from at least 7 other civilizations. They all developed in secret, each finding their own unique path to quantum technology." The Architects remained in high orbit, their fleet now joined by representatives from their broader civilization. The initial shock of their defeat had given way to intense internal debate. Their entire society, built on the assumption of technological superiority, was facing an existential crisis. "They're requesting a formal conference," Lieutenant Commander Patol reported. "Not just with us. They want representatives from all the emerging quantum civilizations to attend." Sarah sat in the newly constructed Quantum Conference Center in Geneva, watching as delegates from across the galaxy gathered. The Architects, represented by Nexus Prime, and several other high-ranking members, seemed subdued. Their crystalline forms no longer pulsed with the same arrogant energy. "We have existed for millennia," Nexus Prime began, addressing the assembled delegates, believing our path was the only path. "We suppressed or eliminated any civilization that showed signs of developing differently. This was an error." A Meridian representative, their gaseous forms swirling with complex patterns, responded. "Your fear of difference nearly destroyed countless species. Each of us had to hide, to develop in secret, because you couldn't accept that the universe might be more complex than your understanding of it." Sarah stepped forward. "But now we have an opportunity. Each of our species has developed a unique approach to quantum physics. Imagine what we could achieve by combining our knowledge instead of suppressing it." The conference marked the beginning of a new galactic order. The Architects' monopoly on quantum technology ended, replaced by a collaborative approach that recognized and celebrated different methods of scientific advancement. Earth, as the catalyst for this change, became a hub of interstellar quantum research. In Quantum Deep, Sarah and her team worked alongside scientists from a dozen different species. The Meridians' understanding of quantum flux states complemented human resonance technology in ways they were only beginning to understand. Even some younger Architects, freed from their civilization's rigid doctrines, joined the research efforts. "Look at this," Marcus called out one day, 6 months after the conference. He was working with a Meridian scientist on combining their quantum field manipulation techniques, The result was something entirely new, a hybrid technology that could create stable quantum corridors across vast distances. Every species brings something unique to the table, Sarah observed, watching human and alien scientists working together. The architect's precision, the meridian's flux manipulation, our resonance technology, they're all pieces of a larger puzzle. The Heisenberg, now upgraded with hybrid quantum technology, embarked on its first deep space mission. Sarah stood on its bridge, watching Earth recede behind them. The ship's quantum resonance drive had been enhanced with meridian flux technology and architect precision engineering, creating something far beyond what any single civilization could have achieved alone. "We're detecting something interesting," the ship's quantum sensor operator reported. "There's evidence of quantum manipulation techniques we've never seen before, coming from the direction of the galactic core." Sarah smiled. Even with all they'd learned, the universe still held countless mysteries. But now, instead of facing them alone or in fear, they would explore them together. Humanity had not only secured its place among the stars, it had helped create a new way of thinking about scientific advancement itself. "Admiral Torres," she called over the quantum comm, "I think we found our next adventure." Back on Earth, in universities and research centers worldwide, a new generation of scientists was growing up with a fundamentally different understanding of physics. They learned not just human theories, but also meridian quantum flux principles, and even some of the architect's more practical applications. Each new discovery led to more questions, more possibilities. The quantum dawn battle had lasted less than a day, but its effects would ripple through the galaxy for centuries to come. The architect's dream of controlling quantum technology had died, replaced by something far more powerful, the combined innovative potential of multiple civilizations working together. As the Heisenberg prepared to investigate the mysterious signals from the galactic core, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not just surviving, but helping to forge a new path forward for all species. The universe, they had learned, was far more interesting when you stopped trying to control it and learned to work with its endless possibilities instead. "New quantum signature detected," Marcus reported from his station. "Like nothing we've seen before." Sarah nodded, feeling the familiar thrill of discovery. This was humanity's true strength, not just finding new paths, but helping others find theirs as well. The age of quantum suppression was over. The age of quantum exploration had begun.